go check out Cali Connection Disc Golf.
Stay connected.
Hi, I'm Pablo Stubstad with Pure Hyzer Productions. With me today I've got Don Harris with True Line Customs, and we're going to give you final round coverage at the Browns Valley Throwdown. In the first part of this episode, we saw feature card coverage of the front course at Browns and Bows, which is a lot of short holes, very well manicured course, very beautiful out there. And now we're going to be following the open lead card on the back course. Tell me a little bit about the back course.
Back course is, I would say, equally as beautiful as the front, not with so much of the, man hours put into the beautification, but the natural terrain back there is really awesome. It provides a little more elevation change, a little bit of length compared to the front course, but not much. Still relatively a short course, but like I said, more hazards to deal with, more water comes into play, and definitely more elevation change and a lot of tighter lines.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful course, just like the front course. And as you saw in the first part of this episode, it started drizzling a little bit near the end. It was getting kind of windy. And we'll see, the conditions have gotten a lot worse for this second round.
Yes, Pavo, bring on the rain. As you will see, we indeed had some rain.
So for the first round, as we saw, Nikko shot a 12 down. And we've actually got a three-way tie for second at 10 down between Don Harris, Tateki Noma, and Nick Long. So let's get to the coverage. Browns Valley Throwdown, final round lead card. First place, we've got Nikko Locastro from Grass Valley with a rating of 1035. He shot a 12 down the first round.
Second place, or tied for second rather, we have Nick Long, good guy from Tahoe, rated 996.
And tied for second place, Don Harris from Nevada City, also 10 down with a rating of 962.
Tateki Noma, Vallejo, California, three-way T2, rating 979.
Hole 1, 183 feet downhill. A lot of trees in the way though.
So much nicer in the picture with the sun shining.
Yeah, and here you hear the rain coming in. Brutal conditions to start off this round.
Nikko opting for the spike Hyzer over everything. Not a commonly played choice for this hole, but
He puts it right there.
he sure does.
Nick going for the lower Hyzer line on the right. Kind of held a little bit for him. He's deep.
Not bad. Might have a low ceiling back there.
A little more challenging shot for Don, being a lefty.
Wet hands. I'm out of here.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can play very well in conditions like this. This is a lot of rain.
I normally tee off a knee on this tee pad, but a little wet.
Looks like Tateki was going for the low skip shot there, but it didn't really skip and hook left like you would usually expect a driver to do when thrown like that.
That bounce back will leave him with a more open putt, though.
And that was on a good line, I think, till it clipped those branches at the end.
Felt a little high. I have a tendency to rush everything when the weather's bad.
I can't blame you for that. Nick didn't really have much of a putt back there with all the branches, so he just lays up for a par. Tateki's got a nice open birdie look here. Fairly low. Nikko after his spike Hyzer. Right there. Good way to start the round.
Nikko starts the way we all should have.
Everybody else is just tapping in pars here.
Nick, where's your umbrella?
So Nikko's now 13 down after that birdie. Hole 2, 306 feet, slightly downhill, and there is a steep hill to the right of the basket with a creek at the bottom of it.
Yeah, you get a little deeper right on this hole. Big numbers come up real quick.
And the bad weather, again, Nikko might have rushed that shot a little bit.
Good looking angle from Nick, but just a little high.
Yep. Fell out at least, though. The 2 meter rule was in effect at this tournament, so it's a good thing that fell out of the tree. And Don got up there.
Normally a good lefty hole for me with the natural low hyzer, but let it out a little early. I'll blame the wet hands.
I think that's reasonable. And Tateki throws a beautiful forehand shot out there.
Stay.
But it skipped down towards the water. We'll see if he's safe when we get up there. Nick's upshot. Played it a little left, which is safe.
He missed it to the safe side for sure. Nikko gives it a chance.
Bit risky from where he was at.
Well, he's pretty good.
He is.
And nothing but a layup for me.
Never been this cold or this rainy in the 2 years that I've been in the area. 2 years hasn't been this cold or rainy. Let's run a tournament on Easter. Sounds cool.
It's a late welcome to NorCal for Nikko Locastro.
And Tateki went down that hill there, but he is actually safe. He did not go in the water, so this is his second shot. And again, with the wet hands, probably slipped out a little early for him. Rolled back down the hill, but it is still safe.
Pretty miraculous, I would have to say, to stay safe twice in a row down there.
I gave it a chance on that sidearm upshot.
Fearless, this guy.
Yeah. Looking at a death putt for bogey back at the hill in the OB. Not a problem for Tateki. Nick for par. Got it in there. Even 15-footers aren't easy in these conditions. And Nikko taps in a par, and Don's going to tap in his par. We'll move on. Three pars and a bogey. Nick and Don now tied for second with Tateki in fourth. Hole 3, only 177 feet and downhill, but it's a tricky tee shot, and once again, the basket is on the edge of a hill that goes down to the creek.
We've done some work on this hole in the last several years. There was really a low ceiling on the left side off the tee pad, and you were forced basically to take a knee for this tee pad, which, being that the hole's so short, it wasn't a problem, but the ceiling came down so low you really had to get on a knee and throw it under right there where Nick just threw and slide it down the road. But the workers out here cut away a lot of the trees, and it's pretty wide open. Another hole sets up good for the lefty.
That's a good shot right there. Slid it right under the basket. Tateki's going with the sidearm here. It's predominantly a sidearm player. Clip that branch a little, but he's right there.
Sure is.
And Nick just on the other side of the gravel road. Going to scope out how deathy this death putt actually is. And you can see it's pretty bad down there.
It's a 177-foot hole, but it's got some serious teeth. I won't mention names, but I've seen a couple of the best players in the history of this game make big numbers on this hole in a tournament. Uh-oh.
And Nick with a solid-looking putt that just spits out the back.
And
It rolled all the way down there, but it actually hit those trees you see and did not go OB. So this is his third.
there's those teeth I was mentioning.
Just a few inches low, and it
Stay there, stay there.
rolled back down a little, but at least it sat. And that's a good bogey save for Nick. Really, in my opinion, he deserved that birdie. That putt was pretty solid. I believe it went through the chains. It didn't spit out on one side.
I'm going to have to agree with you, Paulo.
And Nikko running down to see if he got lucky like Nick and got stopped before going in the water, but he did not. That one rolled into the water. I believe he was able to get the disc back, though. And it looks like he's walking into the creek there, but apparently there's a little ledge down there.
I remember this hole, Pavo, and I didn't know at this point that he'd went OB. I thought he'd stopped safe.
Yeah.
So I was surprised to find out later that he had went OB. Which is what made that bogey putt all the more great.
Absolutely.
That's a good save, Nikko. Man, that's a great save, Nikko. Good bogey if there's such a thing.
Yes. Well, a good putt is a good putt. Even if
Uh-oh.
it's... Shake it off.
Just as you were talking about good putts,
Yeah.
I go and do something like that.
Well, thankfully you can still blame the conditions.
Alright, that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
And Tateki gets the only birdie on this hole. One birdie on a 177-foot hole from the open lead card. It's not what you would expect to see. A couple bogeys, a par, and now Tateki and Don are tied for second with
I told
Nick.
you that hole had some teeth.
It does. A lot of the holes on this course do. A lot of them are short, but there's a lot of OB and jail, and just you can get some bad kicks, and it's challenging. Hole 4, once again, short, 195 feet, a little downhill, but you throw over a creek. There's a small gap out of the tee. And Tateki goes for the thumber over everything.
Well, you take the small gap out of play, you go that way.
Yeah.
That's not a shot that I have in my bag, or I'd probably do the same thing. And there you see why.
Yeah, well, it was a pretty straight, good-looking shot. It just clipped that one tiny little branch or whatever it was that made it Hyzer out for you.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
Nikko's going for either the spike Hyzer or the Scooby over the top.
And he threw a Scooby there.
And we couldn't see it, but he clipped some of the trees over by where those cars are parked, which is actually a campground.
Came down early. Safe, fortunately.
Nick going right up the gut. A gentle S-curve touch, probably rock shot or something similar. And
Great
he
shot, Nick Long.
parks it.
The line I was looking for.
And after clipping those trees, here's Nikko over in the campground. Hits the window, and he's there.
From right next to the Paul Sanchez Tahoe vanmobile.
And Don's there for a par. It can be hard to find your disc out in those blackberry bushes or whatever they are sometimes.
I'm a master at laying up for par.
Nikko demonstrating balance there after his par save.
Another good save.
Tateki for birdie again. Tiny bit high. Cold, wet hands. Putting is harder than any other part of the game in conditions like this, in my opinion.
Agreed. These holes feel so short. Sometimes if you don't get your birdie off the tee pad, you kind of got to just take your medicine and move on. Because you feel like you should be birdieing all of these holes. So if you don't get the right drive to get there for an easy putt,
It's like a Napa.
you don't want to get greedy, or you'll,
Yeah.
you can walk away with bigger numbers.
Don waving to the camera.
Trying to keep the mood light in the bad weather.
And we're back to the same scores we started with. Nikko at 12 down and a three-way tie for second at 10. Hole 5 in the A pin, well, the only pin, 222 feet, slightly uphill.
This is a fun little hole. This one sets up for the little righty hyzer.
There's a number of lines you can take on this. And Tateki goes with the Annie forehand. Just
Man, he really had that on a great line, just maybe a foot too high.
barely too high. It might have been bad luck going out of turn. I think he forgot that Nick birdied the last hole and was supposed to go before him. Nick just slipped out a little early and went left there. Once again, a harder hole for Don.
Yep.
Clipped a tiny little branch again on a decent line and kicked into those blackberry bushes there.
It was a little wide for me. I like my line to be a bit tighter, but
Nikko showing everyone how the up the gut shot is done. I was actually surprised he didn't go over the top on this one. Tateki, after kicking all the way back there, hitting that tree branch. Tomahawk. And came down a little short, but he's got a look at par. Nick, after clipping the cabbage on the left there.
fortunate to kick to the front side of that stuff.
Perfect layup, drop in par. And here, actually, Don ended up in the middle of those blackberry bushes. I don't think you ever got your disc back, did you?
I did. I was able to get it using a stick, but fortunately the tournament director is a bit of a nice guy on occasion and gave me the blackberry relief, so I was able to take it directly behind.
And Tateki really close on the par save there. Nikko for birdie. Solid.
The aforementioned nice guy tournament director.
Good par save from Don, and look
Hang
at that
on.
disc. You're a putting wizard.
Discs can do some strange things sometimes.
Nick taps in his par, and Tateki drops in his 4.
Moving on.
Birdie, par, bogey. Hole 6, 222 feet. Uphill, probably plays close to 300 or 320 even.
Yeah, I would say more of the 320.
This is one of the tougher shots on the back course, actually. Even in good conditions, it's a tiny window to hit.
I think it's the low ceiling that makes it play so much farther, because you really got to rip it up the hill at quite an angle, plus keep it low.
Yeah, and you can see the branches above there. They really take out any other route. There's no option on this hole besides just straight at it up the gut.
You got to pipe it. Good kick there for Nick.
Yeah, he's up there. Surprised to see Nick throw a sidearm, actually. You don't see that out of him very often.
In the middle, I'll take it.
Yep. Tateki held on to that one a little. Got a good kick back into the fairway, though. And this rain is just not letting up. A little short, but he's got to look at par.
Yeah, work for it.
Yep. Take your medicine.
Indeed.
Although this really is not one of the holes that you would expect to birdie like you were talking about. This is probably one of the harder shots on the back course. Nice layup from Nikko. Nick gives it a chance. He's there for a par. Beautiful putt from Tateki.
He earned that par.
Probably circles edge, uphill. Well done.
The breath of relief.
Gotta love Nick's little pink umbrella. Playing in style.
I'm not sure I have a comment for that.
I think it matches his putter. All pars on that hole as we move on to hole 7. 327 feet, big downhill shot. There's an Hyzer sidearm route to the left, or backhand for Don, or a spike Hyzer over the top.
Signature hole on this back course for sure, Pablo. This one's really beautiful.
Absolutely.
Like you said, you got all kinds of options to go at it.
Nikko, and true Nikko tradition, of course, goes with the spike Hyzer over everything.
He likes the air, and it shows.
No, it's the lowest risk shot. You take the most obstacles out of the equation if you've got the arm for it. Actually, you don't need much of an arm for the spike Hyzer on this, but...
You take the trunks out of the equation, but you're putting in the tops of the trees and the OB, I think, a little bit more.
That's true,
because it's crowded down there, and these NorCal scrub oaks and black oaks really like to grab your frisbees. And a little...
That just flattened out a little too much on Don there.
Yeah, I flipped it a little fast, and...
Uh-oh.
Tateki turned his a little too much as well, and it's just holding.
And it skipped off of that path down there. There is a creek down there. You can see a little bit of it right there to the right of the basket.
Looks like he stayed short of the OB.
Yeah, he is safe.
Surprising to say, another layup for par from myself.
Another good layup from Nick.
Indeed. Chirp of the birds here, Pablo, tells me the rain is lightening up.
Yeah, it really let up a lot just between the drives and the upshots on this hole. It was a very sudden change. And that's a good upshot from Tateki. He had a tough lie over there by the water.
He sure did.
He knew it was in.
Nikko doesn't miss a lot of putts.
He is one of the best out there.
He sure is.
Some more tap-in pars. Ah, there's Nick's putter I was talking about. Matches the umbrella. Look at that. Perfect.
I think I complimented him on that umbrella the hole before. I said something to the effect of, "That's a great umbrella, Nick. You're aware those come in adult sizes as well."
It's good to see a smile on Nick's face there, too, despite the gnarly conditions out here today.
I think we were all having a pretty good time.
It's just a different kind of challenge. Hole 8 in the A-pin, the only pin, once again, 279 feet, but it's uphill. Plays probably quite a bit more than 279, plus you can't go right at it. That's a good sidearm line from Nikko right there. A little tight, but he got lucky through the branches. Gave himself a look. I think Nick got over those bushes at least. I think he's on the other side with a clear upshot.
Looks like he just slipped out of his hand a little early.
Yep. And this one sets up nicely for a left-hand backhand.
Another great lefty hole, one of my favorites. Unfortunately, I'm not firing on all cylinders this round. Tateki goes up high.
High and turned it over a little much. He hit some of the trees on the left. I think the other players were out looking for his disc right now while Nick takes his upshot from here. And he's there for a par.
That may have been a good branch.
Yeah, it could have gone deep left.
And after a little search here, we have unfortunately located Tateki's disc. And there you see OB.
Way up there.
Yeah, it's up there.
I wonder if he ever got that disc out. I saw it had some ace signatures on it. Sure he'd like to get that one back.
Yeah, I don't remember if we got that down then or not.
I don't think anybody got it down during the round. He may have come back and gotten it, though. A solid upshot for a 4P. Too bad his drive stuck in that tree. Gave it a chance.
I did. It came a little hot on that one.
Nikko just barely high on that putt.
Like the worst sound in disc golf.
Yeah, people complain about those yellow bands
Band.
on these baskets. I'll admit it's an annoying sound, but the alternative, you know, Mach 3s or that style basket with no band, if you think about it, if there's no band, you either hit the band or you skip off the top of the basket. You hit the band, you're right there for a tap in. You skip off the top, you could be looking at another putt.
That's true.
3 pars and that unfortunate 4P from Tateki. As we move on to hole 9, this is one of my favorite holes on the back course at Browns and Bows. Really tricky little downhill shot, 270 feet.
This one's really tight off the tee box. That gap you got to hit initially about 30 feet out is maybe 6 feet wide at the most. Right there.
Great shot from Nikko. Just didn't Hyzer out like he wanted at the end, but he's down there for a look. It almost looks like the tee pad could have been where I was filming from to make it an easier shot, but I like that it was put off to slightly to the side here. Keeps it interesting.
I agree. I think with the short length on these holes too, Pablo, it's better to have them a little more tricky, a little more technical.
I completely agree. Short technical golf is my favorite. When a hole is easily reachable with a mid-range or a putter, but it's still a very challenging shot. A well-designed hole, in my opinion. And that was a good shot from Don there. Just sailed past the basket a little, but it was heading right at it.
Yeah, you turn over a rock on a hill this steep, they don't usually want to come back.
Tateki almost hit the sidearm line there. Just kicked left. Touch and Hyzer flick up shot. Tateki's good at those. You'll see him get down on a knee for those sidearm up shots quite frequently. And he is very accurate with them.
Yeah, he's a great touch from 100 or so feet.
That was a good run.
I still hoping it was
You hear me hassling Nick a little bit there. Little gamesmanship.
Oh, a little low. Nikko for birdie.
That was probably the worst
Yeah.
putt.
A little weak on that one.
Yeah, just mistimed. You get your timing off a little bit, and that's what happens.
That was the coolest putt I had all day.
Yeah, it's pretty cool down there under the branches. And just like that, 2 holes ago it was a downpour, and now it has pretty much stopped. The raindrop sounds you hear now are really just water coming off the trees. It pretty much stopped raining at this point.
It's like there's even some sun shining through there.
Yep. Another par frame on hole 9.
After the first 7 holes. I think Nikko said he was thinking about changing the tournament name to 7 Holes of Treachery at one point.
At least it was only 7 and not all 18.
Yeah, we'll stick with Browns and Bows Throwdown.
Yep. Hole 10, 138 feet. Very short, but once again, very technical. There's a number of lines you can take on this one. I think Nikko's throwing a Scooby here.
It's a crazy, tricky little righty hyzer. The way it elevates so quick and so sharp around the corner. A skip shot seems for a righty like the right shot, but with the hill angle, it wants to skip down to the right.
Yeah.
Even on a hyzer.
Yeah, it's actually incredibly tricky to get a putt at this hole, despite how short it is.
For some reason, I made a last-minute decision here to try a line I never throw. And the result is that.
Tateki with the thumber.
Taking the thumber out. A little short, but good shot.
Yep. And here's Don behind the bushes.
Where? Oh, there he is.
Yep. What else can you do from there? And Nick in a similar situation, just a little bit closer than Don. Same deal. What can you do? Tateki, long look at birdie. Up and over.
Yes, great putt to Tateki.
That was a beautiful putt.
The wry smile from tournament director.
That'll put a smile on your face, hitting a nice putt like that. Nikko just a little deep left after his Scooby.
I'm good for about 15 knuckleballs in the tournament.
Wide or too hard for an upshot.
Will look like I have like a broken finger or something in the tournament. Wobble, wobble.
And for those that don't know, a Scooby is basically like a spike hyzer, but you hold it like a thumber, and the disc dives straight down instead of hyzering out for the end of the flight.
In the world.
Birdies from Nikko and Tateki on that hole, and pars from Nick and Don.
Apparently, I thought that putt was for the championship.
Hole 11 in the B pin, one of the few holes on the back course that actually has multiple placements. 411 feet, big downhill shot, and OB danger with the creek to the right of the basket.
This hole is nasty, Pavo. As you can see here, you have a really, really tight line off the tee box between those trees. And you got to poke it out there 400 feet flat for a righty hyzer and then just let it fall off.
Exactly like Nikko did there. And
Exactly like Nikko did there.
can't really see the result. It's a totally blind shot, but that was a good shot by Nikko. That's pretty much what you want to do.
Once you get out there, you're kind of over water the whole way, too. So any branches can drop you into the OB or even kick you across the creek to the campground.
And after seeing the line that Nikko hit, Tateki followed it up with pretty much the same shot. That was beautiful. Oh, little grip lock there.
Little grip
Nick.
lock. You won't see that often from Nick Long. He's a solid player.
It looks like a Daedalus.
Well, I got to throw something that I know is going to turn over here. This is not a very lefty-friendly hole.
Not at all.
And it happens to be the hardest one on the course.
That's like really all I can ask for on this hole, you know?
Yes, it's hardest one on the course, even if you're right-handed, and for you, especially the hardest one on the course. Nick with a tricky lie, barely in front of the tee pad, and he throws a great upshot there. Pretty much all he could hope for.
It's a good up from there. I'm left with a low ceiling upshot here. Maybe 120 feet out.
Kept it nice and flat. Put it right there, which is good, because if that had hyzered at all, the creek is just to the right of the basket there.
A little trust in the rock. A little trust.
Nick with a tricky upshot there. It's a little anhyzer on it, and his body was kind of blocking it there, but he's to the left. He's got a putt. And Nikko after a beautiful drive. Great birdie.
Great birdie. This hole is always a bonus birdie when you get it.
Call it the broken butterfly.
Nikko seems to think his putts are wobbly more often than they actually are. I think it looked pretty solid to me. And Tateki slightly closer than Nikko.
Really smooth putt Tateki has.
I just
This
seen,
guy's got a good
I
putt.
just seen Bubba back there sprinting through the line of
Tateki. He's a much better putter than me. You just gotta believe it.
Great birdies from both Tateki and Nikko. Incredible to see 2 birdies on this hole.
Tateki getting some props there from Nikko on his putting style.
And Nick saves a bogey, which is actually pretty good after his first shot and the tricky lie he had there in front of the tee pad.
I would call that a great bogey save. I hit those trees twice in warm-up rounds, and I made 5 both times, so 4 is a good escape there.
Absolutely. So Tateki with that birdie moves up into a tie for second place with Don. Nick just 1 stroke behind now. Hole 12 is a very interesting shot. 240 feet, kind of diagonally over the creek. And then the basket, once again, is right next to the creek.
This one is right on the water's edge.
Sets up nicely for a sidearm or a left-hand backhand.
Throw over the OB and then Hyzer back towards the OB and hopefully stop.
And that was a great drive by Nikko. He just got a huge skip. It looked like he hit a patch of hard-packed dirt there. If he'd hit grass instead, it probably would have been a smaller skip and he would have been parked.
That's the risk you take when you throw a fast disc on this hole.
Yep. Nice straight shot up the gut by Don.
Turn it down to a fairway driver.
And looking at a 2 with creek right behind the basket. Nick a little low on that one. Just hit those logs sitting there.
I couldn't tell if he caught the logs or the bridge. Either way.
That's a good upshot. He had a bit of a tricky lie there next to that tree and had to have kind of an awkward stance. Tateki, I was surprised to see him go for a birdie from that far away.
I was absolutely surprised. The guts it takes to run at a putt like that.
Yeah, and he almost stayed safe, but he is barely in the water there, as you can see. So he's going to take his relief and be putting for 4 from down here.
The risk reward there, I think, is too great. I'm not sure I commend him. I'm not sure I could go for that putt.
How about this putt?
I better take that back, huh?
Boom. Don gets his first birdie of the round.
12 holes later, I'll make it 2. What do you know?
Yeah, but it's been only pars up until then. All the other players have had their share of bogeys. Even Nikko has bogeyed. Tateki with a nice bogey save there.
Good putt there, Tateki.
Nick Long with a tap in, wearing his Sierra Tahoe Series champion jacket. He won that last year. And Nikko with the 3P there since his drive went OB in the water. And I believe that disc, he's looking for it here, but I believe it got washed away and he didn't get it back, unfortunately.
No, that one went to Marysville, I'm pretty sure. It's currently in a rice paddy.
And all of a sudden, Don with a 2-stroke lead over the other 2 players on the card. Behind Nikko still, of course. And hole 13 in the A-pin, 306 feet uphill. This is probably about a 400-foot shot, the way it plays. Narrow, low ceiling, a ways up the fairway. This is a tricky one.
A lot of danger, the whole right side slopes down to the OB Creek, so
Those branches, cut those around.
my tendency is to overturn my shot on this one.
Yeah. It's easy to do that.
But I'll take safe in the road there every time. And our fearless leader rips one up there.
Just a little low release, but he got a good skip and a roll. And
Plays the Hyzer roll off the hill.
I wonder if that was intentional.
I don't think he intended it, but I'm pretty sure he knew that was going to happen once he saw his flight.
Yeah. And Nick turned his over and went down to the right, but it did get caught up in some stuff there. It did not roll down to the water. Tateki saw Nikko's strategy and tried out the same thing.
I didn't know that was the preferred shot on this hole.
Players are getting creative out here.
Maybe I'll switch to my right hand and try that one next time.
Down!
Another layup for par. And Nick doesn't have much of an option down here either, just trying to get through the trees and up there for a par.
And he does a great job of that.
Yeah, it can be tricky down there. There's a lot of trees. Tateki, once again, opting for the kneeling sidearm upshot, even from this close. It's an interesting choice, and he's good at it.
Fun to watch, too.
And it's not often you see Nikko Locastro lay up from 40, but if you see what's to the right here of this basket, you could get a roll away all the way down there, end up in the water, and turn a 2 into a 5P. So Nikko played smart. Everybody played smart there.
You see that pole way down there to the right, headed toward the creek. There's the option there for a long pin, which we've played in years past.
Yeah, one of the other few holes on the back course that has multiple placements.
There's that pole down there where a basket can go. Makes it pretty treacherous.
Another par frame as we move on to hole 14. 183 feet, but once again, pretty tricky. The basket is very protected. There's a tree right in front of the tee pad that makes any shot, any line you take, pretty awkward. That almost skipped in there.
Man, it just got through everything
Yeah.
there somehow.
It's a big skip.
All the way out the backside.
Nikko just a little high on that one.
He's not going to be happy with that.
And that orange basket you can see back there to the right is hole 17 on the front course. Nick going right at it as well.
Both of these guys. Most players you see throw the Hyzer the right side out there. It's just a nice little skip shot.
Yeah,
I think that's the most wide open route for the righty.
That's definitely the route I take on this hole.
Just like Tateki did there.
Yep.
He caught a branch as well.
Caught a branch and didn't get a skip, but that is the safest play for right-hand, backhand for sure. Another sidearm upshot. Just clip some branches. And Nikko, after also clipping some branches, a long birdie look here.
Yeah, this is probably a 60-footer.
Nice putt.
Beautiful putt from Nikko.
Indeed it was. He was mad at that tee shot. He wanted that one, you could tell.
I'm not really sure what Nick was going for there, but he's there for a 3.
I think he was kind of trying to drill it, but we can't be sure. I have almost the same gap he had. Those trees are really...
Good birdie.
It was pretty pinched off. Thank you. I'll take that one.
Your drive, to me, looked like it was close to skipping into the basket even. Tateki.
All this stuff around the basket, normally it'll hit something there, a rock or a tree, and stop fairly close.
Yeah.
That time I got through everything.
And Nick taps in his par.
Not this year.
Not this year, says Nick Long.
Tell you what, though, I'm stoked to be on another Pure Hyzer Productions. I love it.
Thanks for the shout out, Nick. So a couple birdies there on hole 14. Don's getting more of a lead on Nick and Tateki. Hole 15, 270 feet. This is a tricky shot right out of the gate. There's some trees and some awkward placements, and then there's this big trailer that used to be used for paintballing up here that is an obstacle as well.
Yeah, Splat Hill they called it back in the day, and Mark Brown used to host paintball events for youth groups and such.
And that was a great shot, actually, by Don right there. It was no more than 2 or 3 feet from the ground, it looked like, the whole way. Didn't hit anything and got there.
Little worm burner down the pipe.
And a great shot from Nikko as well. Rolled down the backside of that a little, but it's not too steep back there. Nick with a good-looking line, but it clipped a couple branches there that just
came up short.
And it took some power off. Tateki sidearm up the gut.
The one-step sidearm, and man, he gave that a run. What a shot. You can't. This basket's blind from the tee pad, by the way. You can't see the pin at all from when you're driving.
Usually, if you see me filming from halfway up the fairway, that is the reason. I do prefer seeing drives from the player's perspective behind the tee pad whenever possible, but if it's a blind shot, I'd like to get the basket in the shot as well.
Tateki, he doesn't know how to lay up this guy. He's fearless.
Makes him a fun player to watch.
Sure does.
A good birdie putt by Nikko there.
Good birdie.
He came down right under the basket, actually, so it must have rolled a little ways down there. Tateki, comebacker for par at the hill behind the basket. Not a problem.
When you putt as good as this guy, I guess you can be pretty fearless on those birdie runs.
CTP drive and a tap-in birdie for Don.
No, we won't talk about that guy.
And Nick taps in a par. Couple birdies, couple pars, just like the last hole. Nikko and Don are separating themselves from Nick and Tateki. Hole 16, 192 feet, a lot of trees. There's a small up-the-gut gap, or you can just go over the top.
That up the gut gap is brand new. I think maybe only a couple days before this event, and I couldn't resist the temptation to try it and failed miserably.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate kickoff there to the left too. There's a lot of stuff in your way now. But Don's right, that gap was full of trees and branches and bushes and whatever, and it was cut out just days before the tournament.
Yeah, you couldn't see this basket at all unless you knew where to look. You can see the fresh cuts there off the trees.
And I think that was another Scooby from Nikko, and Nick is going for the spike Hyzer. And he's there, look at two, just a little left. And that actually right there is the advantage of the Scooby. You can throw the same line, but it'll dive straight down instead of Hyzering the whole way.
Tateki throws a thumber or an invert?
That was a thumber, and we can't see it. He came down deep right. Just a little too much on it.
Oh, Donnie. Oh, boy.
Yeah, I get to talking to myself. You know, I got a real masterpiece there in front of me.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
Sit.
I got super lucky right there to get through about a 10-inch gap 5 feet in front of me.
Yeah, it looked like you might have thrown with a little more power than you needed just in case it clipped some stuff on the way.
Yeah,
and then it didn't.
I was trying to force the gap, and yeah, I got through a little cleaner than I expected and went a little deep.
Tricky putt for par down here.
And the low ceiling.
Oh.
That was a putt I expected to make, and I was a little disappointed there.
Yeah, Well, you were the only player on the card who was still bogey-free until this point.
Yeah, that's right.
He lasted a lot longer than everyone else.
That's right. That was the dreaded bogey. Great putt, Nikko. Good too. Enough talk about my bogey.
Nick just a little deep left for birdie.
Puts it right in there.
Good putt.
Wizards get some money sometimes. They just want to like crawl.
Yeah, like the one that crawled down the hill last time.
That was one of the dirtiest spit outs of all time. On camera though, so you could tell your boys. You're like, look what was going down
Yeah, I don't even have to
today.
say anything,
I was
man.
playing good.
I don't even have to say anything.
Yeah, you're just like, oh boy.
It was pretty nasty. It was pretty dirty for sure.
There's only one.
We're referencing Nick's putt on hole 3 back there at the creek that spit right through the chains and rolled down the hill.
Hit off this ring, jumped out, like crawled out though.
Nico's talking about some other bad spit outs he's seen in the past. And with Nick's birdie there, he's now one stroke ahead of Tateki with 2 holes to go.
And my bogey puts me back within striking distance.
Hey, you survived all the holes during the downpour without bogeys. Everyone else was bogeying in those conditions. Hole 17, 261 feet. Another one where you can't see the basket from the tee.
I think you can see the yellow band now that they've clipped some branches, but it
Yeah, you're right. You can see the yellow
couple
bands.
steps off and you can see it, but it plays kind of uphill and then downhill real quick, so mostly blind. Oh, that was going to be a real good shot if it
Yep.
wasn't for that one.
Tateki hit the same tree Nick hit there, just a little left. A little trickier shot for Don.
I like the turnover, though.
Yeah, you're coming in at a good angle for the slope, whereas the right-handed players on a good shot could potentially still skip down the hill.
I think it's part of learning a mostly right-handed game. You know, most courses, especially here in NorCal, tend to favor the righties, and that turnover shot was one I had to learn real fast, so I don't mind it.
Another kneeling sidearm upshot from Tateki. A little too much ante on that one, but he's there for a par. Gave it a run.
Little wounded butterfly, as Nikko would say.
Knuckleball.
Yes, the knuckleball.
A good drive and a good putt. Nikko gets the only birdie there.
Was the safe run, which shouldn't exist, because if you don't commit to that shot, you're probably not going to make it.
Nope.
That one might have been a little weak side.
It's hard to see from this angle.
That was great film work there, Pablo. Great film work.
Thank you. Nikko with a birdie there, 20 under now. And hole 18, the back course at Browns and Bows, the shortest hole on the course, 123 feet downhill. There are a lot of trees as usual, but it's still an incredibly short shot. Probably one of the easiest holes out here.
Nice meeting you. Nice to play with you. Nice to play with you.
The ceremonial last hole handshake from the fellas. I'm a little torn about this hole here on the end to finish. Really super short, but it used to be really technical. That tree in front of you there was so bushy that you had to throw like a little underneath, right where Nikko's line just went. There was all tree branches there, and you had to throw underneath it in a little skip shot. It was pretty tech for such a short hole, and cleaning out those branches really has made it I don't know how to, just more la-di-da, I guess.
Yeah.
It's almost silly now, but it's still fun. Everyone's throwing the same hole, so.
Yeah, I'm all for course maintenance, but I agree with you. When shots are so short, it might be better to keep the fairway a little more gnarly.
Roll over there. That's kind of the old line.
Play for the skip and the roll.
And that's it. Well, that was the shot.
And like you
Now
were
you got
saying
option.
about the right-hand favorable holes out here in NorCal, here's another one that's a little trickier for you.
Just throw the arrow.
Good kick there. That might have gone a little deep left.
Good turn. Shout out to my arrow there.
Nick for birdie. Solid finish. Tateki finishes out with a birdie as well, as I think almost all good players would expect to on this hole.
Well, it doesn't happen every time. I can tell you that from experience.
Tap in birdie from Nikko, and he takes the win.
I'll do it. Browns Valley Throwdown.
Birdie from Don as well.
Throw down.
Only 7 holes of turmoil.
Valley of Brown.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Forget about our...
No, this is ours. No, this is ours. Don't forget this is ours. You got it, brother.
And that's it. Browns Valley Throwdown. Players are totaling up the final scores here.
All in all, a super fun day. Despite
Absolutely.
the 7 holes of treachery.
I think everybody was happy it wasn't 18 holes of treachery. And that was actually the first star frame of the whole round right there on the last hole. Nikko finishing at 21 under. And actually Jeff Bennett and Matt House on the chase card shot really great that second round. Jeff Bennett took second, shooting only 1 stroke worse than Nikko that second round, and Don took third. And there you can see Matt House snuck up into fourth.
There we go. That's the conclusion of round 2, the Browns Valley Throwdown. Thanks everybody for joining us. Personally, I want to thank Pavo and Pure Hyzer Productions for coming out and filming in the treacherous weather conditions.
Absolutely, and I gotta thank my girlfriend Jen for being out there with me the whole time, holding an umbrella over me and my expensive camera, keeping it safe and dry. She did a great job, and I think it really is valuable to see top players be able to tackle conditions like this. It's not something you get to see very often, watching these players play in a downpour. And it sure got to everyone, but good thing the downpour only lasted 7 holes, and then it cleared up and really got beautiful for the second half of the round out there. Sun came out, birds were chirping, no wind.
Yeah, absolutely. A beautiful day at Browns and Bows turned into Browns and Rainbows when the sunshine came out. And it was a great day, a well-run event by Nikko. All those guys were great to play with. Big thank yous to Tateki and Nick and Nikko. Fun time.
It's great to see a variety of shots too, I think, on courses like this. We got a left-handed player, Don, and then Tateki, who's primarily sidearm, and of course Nikko, who's got every shot in the bag, and got to see all kinds of different routes and approaches to every hole too, which I think is cool to see.
Absolutely. Great round on one of my favorite places to play here in NorCal.
Absolutely. Mark Brown and his crew, including Don, have done some great work on the courses out there. I highly recommend checking out Browns and Bows to anybody in the area. And thanks a lot, Don, for coming doing commentary with me for Pure Hyzer Productions. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And now we'll take a look at some of the highlights from the round. First up on the highlights, Tateki's drive on hole 2. Nice straight sidearm shot. Hyzer's out at the end, heads right at the basket, and skips down the hill.
Ran out there. He thought that one had a chance. It probably did too.
It's a good run. And Don's drive on hole 3. Great shot right down the middle. Gets it under those branches and slides it up just past the basket.
Oh, it's not a highlight if you don't make the putt.
Well, that's why the putt wasn't a highlight. And Nick's putt on hole 3, one of the dirtiest spit outs of all time, as Nikko was saying during the round. You can see it hits strong side, spits through the chains, just teeters on the edge a little, just to fall out and start rolling down the hill.
We were still talking about it 13 holes later.
Yeah. And right here, it hits a rock, which could have stopped it, but
center.
nope.
It hit that rock solid too.
Just did a little hop and kept right on going. And it
In
looks
slow-mo. This is for you, Nick. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Replay.
At least it hit those trees down there and didn't go OB like Nikko's putt did. Here's his bogey save. Great uphill putt after going OB in the creek.
Yeah, that was a great save of 4 if there's such a thing. Like I said, I didn't know until the next hole that he was even OB at all on that hole.
Yeah. Nick's drive on hole 4. Right up the gut.
Clean shot.
Parked for a 2. And Nikko's drive on hole 5. Showing everyone how the up the gut shot is done. You can really see how bad the rain was. And Tateki's par save on hole 6. The first of many good putts by Tateki this round.
Absolutely.
Dead center. Several holes later on hole 10, Tateki putting for birdie over that bush. High, strong side. Another great putt.
The up and over, high putt, nose down, stab it in there. Great putt, Tateki. Nikko approves.
And hole 11, the hardest hole on the course. Both Nikko and Tateki get birdies on this. They both throw beautiful straight drives out there. Hold just as long as they need to before hyzering out at the end. Diving towards the basket. Here's where they both ended up. Couple of solid birdie putts.
Great action there.
Next up, hole 12. Nikko's drive, which did end up going OB, but it was a beautiful drive. As you can see here, it just skips on the dirt right before the grass, skips on the dirt right after the grass, and goes in the creek. I think if either of those skips had been on grass instead of dirt, he would have probably been safe. And Don's birdie putt, death putt right at the OB. Strong side, good putt.
Thank you. I'll take one for the highlight reel.
And here's another one for the highlight reel. Hole 14, Don's drive. Nice low hyzer. Skips right behind the basket.
Really a sawed-off throw there with the distance. Just kind of stop everything, not much follow through.
And Nikko, after clipping some trees on his drive on hole 14, huge birdie putt, probably the biggest putt of the round from anyone. Perfect. Happy to get that one after a less than ideal drive. And another shot by Don, his drive on hole 15. And watch how close this is to the ground for the whole flight. Perfect. Parked for a 2.
I may have thrown this hole once or twice.
Next up, Nikko's drive on hole 17. Nice straight shot that holds as long as it needs to, and hyzers towards the basket, where Nikko would take the only birdie on this hole. And finally, just because it's for the win, Nikko's tap in on hole 18, which put him 21 down after 2 rounds of 18.
I think he finished with 5 in a row there at the end, and it was just a real good finish.
Yep.
Solid round after a slow start. Attaboy, Nick.
Nick is always having a good time, whether he's having a good round or not. You can tell he truly loves the sport.
Nick is a great guy to play disc golf with.
Absolutely. I lived up in Tahoe for many years, and he is a Tahoe local, probably one of Tahoe's best players. And now we'll take a look at the award ceremony.
Tateki, coming in 6th place. Tateki. Tateki. Alright, coming in 5th place, we got Nikko. Yeah! Thanks for coming. There you go. Thanks a lot for coming out.
True Line
4th
Customs,
place,
Upper
open
Park
man,
Designs.
Matt House.
Thank you.
Thank you, bro. And you get a trophy.
All right.
Open.
Legacy discs. Native disc.
Here we go. Native disc golf.
In Legacy.
Oklahoma.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Nico.
You got it, brother.
Thanks, Mark.
Hold on. What happened? 4th place. Hey, Matt House. Hey, Matt. Sorry, I gave you the wrong trophy. I did your trophy. I see it.
I missed my stroke.
All right, 3rd place. Don Harris. Thank you for competing, Don.
Thanks for having me. Hey, listen, I really want to thank Nikko for putting this on, Fly Life. Thanks everybody for coming out. I want to thank Bruce at True Line Customs for sure, Cali Connection Disc Golf as well, and big thank you to Mark Brown for letting us come out and play this place. I'm an old schooler. I'm out here. I've been playing on this course for almost 20 years now, and for a lot of people, this was their first chance playing it today, and you see how lucky we are to get to come to a place like this and play Frisbees. So thanks everybody for coming out, and everybody that helped. Thank Mark and his guys. Scrambling yesterday, putting in T signs, so we had all that stuff, and thanks everybody. Keep it flying. Keep it in the air. Let's get go.
All right, thank you, Don. Coming in 2nd place, all the way from Michigan, Jeff Bennett.
And I want to thank my sponsor, Discraft. Awesome Pete for bringing me out here to this awesome course. And thank you, Nico, for running a good event.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you, Mark Brown. And
First place.
I was. Thank you guys. Thank you. I couldn't have done this without the help from a really awesome staff. Sherry was helping me count scorecards. She's helped me at every tournament I've put on. Jessica's always there to help. I definitely want to thank Don Harris. He was there for us to help out with anything. He brought some boxes out here for me. Big, huge help. Jaba, thank you so much. All the locals that were helping out with little odds and ends stuff. Really appreciate it. But the biggest thank you is to Mark Brown for opening this place up to us. And his woman, she helps him with just about everything. I don't know what he'd do without her.
Without her, I would not be able to do this because she does the weddings, and she's been really awesome about this. I told her I was going to do a disc golf tournament. She really.
Mark.
So you laid down the law, right, Mark?
Hey, hold on a second. Hold on a second. It's not quite over. I left out one division, and this is an important division because you guys came all the way out here. To